There, see? Not that difficult. Everybody's getting in on this whole thing of flipping games now, ever since like we made fun of Rodney doing it. But you know, when you want to really show off, you gotta go bigger. You gotta go like really big games. So, you know, how hard can it be? You know? Fine, we'll leave it to the professionals. Hey everyone, welcome to another Top 10. Yes, if you watched my recent editorial video, you'll know that this is the format for the Top 10s. And of course, I will go back to the 24mm for my next reviews, which I think, what's next on the review agenda? I believe I need to do the Ancient World, 2nd edition. I need to do the Cosmos Anthology, where I'm doing a lot of Cosmos games. Trying to think, I know there's other things besides, but like I say, you'll look forward to that in due time. But for now, Top 10s. It's been a while since the last one, and I've got several lists on the agenda that I've already analysed and need to get to the table, really, quite frankly. So yeah, the Black Book makes its return, and today we're looking at my Top 10 Next Step games, or you could call this Gateway Plus. Now, this is a very subjective list, because as gamers, I feel a lot of us have been skewed as to what is light, what is medium, what is suitable for newcomers, what, you know, my friend can handle, Twilight Imperium in his first ever experience with board games. Well, yeah, good for your friend, but I'm trying to think more on a global level here. And certainly my perception is maybe I kind of underestimate how easily some people can get into games, and I find that's a safer way to do it, but granted that means that my perception of what is light, medium and heavy is probably a little bit lower down than what some other people's is. So it's going to be a very debatable list, and I'm sure in the comments you guys are going to come up with all sorts of games that are more than suitable, because I had a big list for this. I got a lot of honourable mentions, I got a good Patreon choice. Yeah, it was hard to do this. And so ranking this as a 10 is also pretty difficult, because how do I decide that these are 10 best? So take the 1 to 10 thing for what it's worth, but I suppose it was more a case of, right, what were the first ones that came to mind, and what are the easiest ones for me to go, yeah, this clearly is a next step game over, say, what I would teach as a gateway level one. But again, like I say, take it for what it's worth. This is 10 decent next step or gateway plus games. You know, this is a list I'd like the Dice Tower to do at some point. Haha, yeah, see, I've done a list that the Dice Tower haven't. Haha, in your face. But just getting ahead of that crowd. So without further ado, let's get started. My number 10 was getting all the hype lately. I mean, oh my god, yes, everybody must buy this game. It's so amazing. Yes, it is the next best thing since sliced bread. No, it's a very good engine builder tableau building game, but it is not the best thing since sliced bread. It's still a really cool game though, Wingspan. And some of you might be thinking, well, hang on a minute, come on, Wingspan we can do with gateway level. No, I'm not convinced by that. Splendor is a, where's Splendor down there? That is a gateway level engine building game, okay? Dirt simple, I play it with a family all the time. The parents now understand it, even though I beat them most of the time. But at least that is the level I'm talking about for gateway. This though is a bit more involved, but it's still at its core engine building tableau building game. With Wingspan, you're basically building up a tableau of birds, every single one a unique bird. So it's got a very nice theme. It already looks the part. It is a drop dead gorgeous as a game. Everything from the rulebook being linen finished, which I must admit is different, but everything about it is just like, oh yeah, this will appeal to a lot of people just for its unique theme. But the rules wise, not quite simple enough to be gateway. You know, you've got the different columns that you have to activate. You've got the 3 different rows, each of which does different things. All the birds are unique. Now, granted, some of the powers rinse and repeat themselves a little bit in terms of how they work, but again, there's a lot of different powers on the cards. On top of that, you've got the bird tower with dropping the dice in and rolling those, and which ones do I take, and the objectives to go for at the end of each round, and how do I score points. There's definitely more going on that this is above a gateway level, but it's simple enough that I would not call this a medium weight game. This is kind of like the upper level of light, and maybe crossing into the boundaries of medium. But it works perfectly as a Gateway Plus game. You know, it's like, oh, did you enjoy Splendor and maybe like one or two other sort of like very simple tableau building games? Well, how about this one? It's that similar thing of building up your tableau of cards, but now the cards have got abilities that key off. Shouldn't be too difficult to add that and the dice element to it. I did consider Abyss for tableau building and that, but I don't know. Abyss kind of, I mean, one thing I'm trying to do with this list is that I'm trying not to rinse repeat the same genres all the time, so I'm not trying to put 10 different Gateway Plus worker placements on here. But I considered Abyss and thought, I want to play Abyss with the expansions primarily, and once you add the expansions in, it's nowhere Gateway Plus anymore. But also, you've got all the different characters with special powers, and like, how do I use the fish creatures, you know, efficiently, you know, saving the 5 at the end and dealing with the Leviathan. There's a little bit more going on in Abyss. Compared to this one, I feel that made me sort of think, yeah, you know what, I'll go with Wingspan. So it's a solid game, solid engine builder, not the second coming, as a lot of people made it out to me. And certainly I don't think it's the best game of 2019 already, but it's solid, it's in my collection, and I think, oh right, you can handle Splendor and all that lot? Well, how about some birds? So number 10, Wingspan. For number 9, I'm going into deck building. So imagine you've played things like maybe Marvel Legendary, you know, Dominion, those really simple deck builders, maybe in Star Realms. You know, Star Realms is pretty straightforward, you know, these gateway level deck building games. So okay, you can now handle this whole thing of trading cards for a cost and maybe key off the occasional ability, or, you know, and the abilities might not be that many in a game or something, and you know, you can handle the multiplayer aspect. Okay, fine. Well, how about we throw in one of my, I think it's my favourite deck builder, actually. I don't know. We'll see. Top 100 is coming soon. Valley of the Kings. Yes, and unfortunately, the shiny new premium set has not yet arrived. Cannot wait for those tarot-sized cards and the new artwork and the Pharaoh powers. They're going to be so amazing. Love Valley of the Kings. Probably, like I say, probably my favourite deck builder game. This one is definitely not gateway level. No way. No way. Because I have taught this to people who claim, oh yeah, I can handle this sort of thing, and then their brains melt. Because you've got, first of all, the added element that you have to, in fact, if you can't see the title, let's see if we can, there you go. This is the Last Rites game. So hopefully that's focusing a little bit more for you there. But this is the best expansion for the lot. But to be fair, you can grab the base game, Afterlife, whatever. They all work independently. But this one, you've got two aspects that take this above gateway. Firstly, the tomb. It takes people a game to usually realise, oh yeah, I'm building up this really cool deck, but oh yeah, when do I need to start actually entombing everything so I can score victory points? You don't score for anything in your deck. You have to get it out of your deck and into your tomb, and people slightly lose track of when's the best time to start doing that, or whether they can afford to wait longer because they've got a lot of entombing cards. Not to mention the fact that every single card has a special ability on it, and these aren't always the simplest of abilities, particularly in the expansion sets. So even your starter cards have all got special abilities on it. And it's multi-use, so your card now has to contribute to the money, has to contribute an ability, and the ability to entomb it. So everything's got multiple uses, and you've got multiple abilities that key off. So you're playing a hand, and it's like, okay, what do I, oh my god, I suppose I could buy that with this, and then the thing crumbles, which would allow me to buy that. Well, but that ability's cool, but hang on a minute, let me think. I've seen people freeze up with this game plenty, so do not tell me that this is gateway level, okay? Maybe you've got lucky with somebody managing to understand it first time, but believe me, I've taught many people who freeze up on this one. And certainly do not play this with AP players, it will go mad. I usually cap this at 3 players for that reason, which is why with the new premium set, I have no idea how they're going to make it 6-player. I do not even want to fathom how they've made it a 5-6 player game, but you know, for me, solo, 2-player, 3-player, still love this game. You want to take them to the next level in deck building, this is the perfect place to go for my number 9, Valley of the Kings. So for my number 8, I'm trying to think of 2-player games, and it's like, there's a lot of really good 2-player only games here. I mean, you've played Lost Cities with them, you've played Kahuna with them. I'm trying to think of other, like, really simple 2-player games, but, you know, they're not coming to my head right now. But there's a lot of them, particularly from the Cosmos 2-player game line. But I'm trying to think, okay, so where's the next level you could take this with a Gateway Plus level game? And I considered 2, but one of them I decided it was hard to decide between the two. I was decided between Targi, which, honourable mention, that's a really good Gateway Plus 2-player game. But I decided to go with this. Agricola, all creatures big and small, and there's two reasons for this. Firstly, again, I don't think this is gateway level. I mean, you've got, all the different building tiles, you've got the different spaces, building up like fences and putting animals in, and everything scores differently. It's not a difficult game, but particularly if you buy like the big box version where you've got all the different buildings that key off each other, I feel that it just elevates it a little bit above gateway. But what this also does is it kind of acts as an entry point into those heavier Euro games which have similar themes, because we've got quite a lot of these farming and resource gathering and stuff like that themes, and particularly if you're the person who wants to get them into things like Feast for Odin and Agricola and Caverna or things like that in the long term. This is a good starting point because, firstly, worker placement. So if they've built on that with things like Stone Age, now you can expand on this. But the idea that you've got to consider more Euro-style aspects whilst retaining a fun little theme. And granted, I'm in an iron. Targi, Agricola Creatures, Great and Small, I don't know. Both of them were very good choices. And if you prefer Targi to this, by all means say it, because I could totally understand. But there was just something about this one that I thought, yeah, you know what? I've tried this with new players and they do struggle to comprehend a lot of it ahead of on the first game. So I figured, they get used to it after a play or two. But certainly I feel like, yeah, you know what? I want to show you a few other 2-player games first and just get you into the mindset before I throw you into this one. But love the game, it's a good little simple theme. It's just, it gets it done within about half an hour, but there's still some good combos that you can work with the buildings. There's still the pleasantries of putting the animals in their thing and putting the fences on, and that, one of my favorite aspects of Agricola, without having the whole punishing scoring aspect of it. So yeah, this is a solid Gateway Plus level 2-player game, and because it's now in this big box version, you should be able to get yourself a copy. So number 8, all creatures big and small. For my number 7, I consider Citadels to be a Gateway level game. Now, granted, it's the upper level of Gateway level, but if you just have those basic 8 characters, none of the expansion stuff, and just the normal locations, doesn't take people that long, I feel, to get the hang of the whole role selection thing. Yeah, they might need to play a game to understand all 8 of them, but the concept of, right, here's your role, pick the role, that's the thing you're going to trigger that round, isn't usually too bad. So what's the next level above that? Well, you make the roles all the same amongst all players, so you haven't got that whole, like, oh, I'm only choosing out of a few, so you've now got this whole selection in front of you, but on top of that, add area control. And that's why, whoop, here we go. Mission Red Planet, perfect next step. You've got this whole role selection thing down, and maybe you've introduced them to a very bare bones area control game. Although, to be fair, area control is not the most difficult mechanic to teach someone. Here's an area. Most people on it gets the area. The end. What else do you need to tell people about that? But Mission Red Planet, you now combine the two. So you've got the role selection aspect and you've got the area control. And it's not that long of a game. I mean, those 10 rounds go pretty quickly. And it's a very simple concept. Your astronauts, get them on the ships. Get them to Mars. No, not in that style. And, the Total Recall style. But also, you just basically overwhelm the other players in the areas. You have free guys to there too? Great, you get all the resources there. And you just prep ahead of time. The cards themselves are not difficult to work with because most of them are just about controlling certain areas or having the most of a particular resource. Again, not difficult. And the hardest bit that they have to get used to is how those 9 role cards work. But again, they're not that difficult. Most of them will say something along the lines of put 1, 2, or 3 guys in 1, 2, or 3 spaceships. And then they'll just have some other ability on tap. And one of them is literally just draw your cards back. Again, not particularly difficult. So definitely not a gateway game. I know Sam Healy has mentioned it as a gateway game before. And, I know some people may have been lucky enough to do it as a gateway game. But frankly, I would not want to throw this on a brand new player ever. It's just my opinion, but I just could not see this working as a gateway game. So, next step, you're good with Citadels? Great. Now let's try Mission Red Planet. You'll love it. Fantastic game for my number, what is that, 7. My number 6 is a game that I don't think has appeared on a list like this for a long time, actually. And most people have not even heard of it. It was in the Dice Tower Essentials line, and to be fair, it's been a while since I've got it to the table, but when I think about pure area control with some little special powers. Because I mean, Mission Red Planet adds area control in it, but the main reason I picked that one was for the role selection aspect. If I'm just thinking, right, bog standard, area control with a little bit of a twist, I considered FNOS, but FNOS is starting to go down in my appreciation of it. I mean, as good as the game is, the cards are getting a little bit repetitive and it's so ugly. Oh my god, it's so ugly. And that puts me off a game, having to look at this god ugly thing all the time. So the one I'm picking is this one down here. Whoop, let's see if I can get it out. We'll be right back. Problem when you've got something strapped by a chair, it's like, I need to shift everything in order to get it out. Viral. Viral. Most people probably don't even remember this exists, but this is an underrated game. It's just bare bones area control at its core, but you have some cards that you play in order to allow you to do the various actions. So you're adding that element on top of the area control. But with a theme as cool as this one, where it's like you're all viruses in this person and you're basically trying to spread your viruses everywhere and control like all the various organs that are on the board. And you know, it's a beautiful looking thing. It's lovely, gorgeous production, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, like, you know, brain, lungs, and all this lot. They've got different pathways to get to the different places, and it's got some nice thematic elements. Like if you get a bit above yourself and spread too much, then basically I call it House MD on the extra. If you've never watched that series with Hugh Laurie, seriously watch it. It's fantastic. But you get too above yourself and they start like curing the patient and they flush you out of the system basically. But then on top of that, the scoring like will change every game, and I think maybe even every round, I'm not sure. No, I think every game they have different scoring setups. It has been a while. But you've got these cool cards that you use in order to do the actions, and you can pick up more powerful ones as you go through the game. It's an underrated title. Arcane Wonders and Dice Tower Essentials have they made a big deal about releasing this one, but I haven't heard it appear on their list as much. But I know that the Dice Tower crew really like this one, and I must admit, as I stare at this box now, I really want to get it to the table again. I might even take it with me tonight to games night, actually. I might need to refresh myself on the rules, but it's an underrated game. If you have a chance to check out Viral, I recommend it. But certainly, like I say, you want the next step in area control. I feel there's a little bit too much in here going on for Gateway level, but definitely Gateway Plus. Without a shadow of a doubt, Viral, my number 6. My number 5, some of you are going to be thinking, now come on Luke, that is Gateway level, that is Gateway level, I'm sorry, you know, you're just not with it. Well, okay, I've seen some people get this with Gateway levels, however, when I have been to a lot of Dice Portsmouth events and taught this game, people get it eventually. They certainly take a little bit of time to warm up to it, and usually it's not until their second game that they're like, oh yeah, this starts to make a little bit more sense. But believe me, there's more to teach in this game than meets the eye, to the point where I have to teach it as they're playing it, because if I try to bombard them with all the rules ahead of time, it doesn't quite work. But who can forget Takinoko? Of course, the great, lovable panda Takinoko. This one, again, I just feel there's too much going on. That's before you throw in the expansion, because I've got chibis in here as well. But, you know, just this cool, lovely theme of you've got the panda and the gardener. He wants to grow the trees. The panda wants to eat the bamboo. The weather will allow you to do different things on the second round onwards. You know, get these 3 different objective cards. They want to be, you need to eat bamboo, you need to grow trees, and you need to build the garden. The action selection mechanic. It teaches a few little things, but it's just got a little bit too much going on, I feel, for Gateway level. What category this comes into, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, action selection, I guess, the whole thing of programming 2 actions before you take your turn. Again, I'm not sure what else is the Gateway level of that, but this kind of has a myriad of multiple mechanics. It's a hybrid, if you will, of different mechanics that go on. But I suppose the concept of you're working on a communal board that everybody is building up, that sort of thing I don't think appears in a lot of Gateway level games. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Feel free to put an example in the comments. But for me, like I say, I like teaching this at Dice Portsmouth events. I like teaching it, period. I have the deluxe version in the other room. But yeah, I still like bringing this one out, even just this version, not even my deluxe one, out now and again. But I have to admit, I feel like if I know they're brand new to games, I know it's going to take a little bit more effort, and I have seen some people, you know, I had a Spanish guy one time, it wasn't that much of a language barrier, but I remember a Spanish dude I taught a while back, and my God, it was question after question after question trying to comprehend the rules of this game, and to be fair, everybody else got it, so it's not like I was teaching it bad, I don't think, but, you know, not everybody grasps this on their first time, so Gateway Plus it had to be, but let's face it, how can you not love the cute little panda? He's so adorable with his little face and his little eyes. Anyway, before I get all cutesy, number 5, Takinoko. My number 4 is a train game. What? Yeah, I know, deal with it, okay. I do like the occasional train game, although it has to be a light train game. I don't like all those heavy ones like Age of Steam and the Crayon Rail ones and 18XX. Oh god, no. I hate it. It's like looking in the Ark of the Covenant for me. But light train games, gotta give it props, even though Ticket to Ride you can't really call a train game. But this one I can call a pick up and deliver train game, Spike. This one, again, underrated title. Doesn't seem to get a lot of buzz. I think it sort of just came and went. But hear me out on this. With Spike, if you imagine that you've already expanded on Ticket to Ride. You've played Ticket to Ride, you get the idea of connecting from A to B. Now you want to add on the pick up and deliver aspect to it. Well, this is definitely the first step. So with this one, not only have you got to do the A to B connection, but you're also delivering goods via your own contracts or via just this little marketplace on the board in order to score the most money and obviously win the game by having the most money. But you're building the tracks on the board, a bit like in Ticket to Ride style, except this time you're collecting sets of the different colour tracks and you're using them to build all over the place. But it's not like Ticket to Ride where it's just like, here's a city, and there's only like 1 or 2 bits between it. No, you've got all the different lines crisscrossing all over the place, and it's a case of, well, right, what colours do I have? What sets can I get? You can upgrade your train to make it faster and carry more stuff, but the idea that makes this Gateway Plus is the idea that not only do you have to consider your free contracts to say whether you're like, am I going to go the short distance contract and just get a little bit of money, or am I going to try and do the contract that goes from here all the way to there and get the most money, but at the danger of the game ending before I fulfilled it, or all 3 of them. But on top of that, you've got this fluctuating market board at the top, which gives you a little bit of money every time you connect up to a new city based on what goods in it. But you have to keep an eye on that, because it's like, if I go to that city, I'm only going to get $1 for the coal. That's not that, or whatever it is, for the silk. It's not that great. Ooh, somebody just manipulated the board by doing what he did. Now it's worth $3. You know what? Yoink. You need to be able to spot opportunities like that. And for a gateway player, not quite as easy. But easily, next step. You've got Ticket to Ride underway. Great. You could just expand Ticket to Ride with some of the more complicated maps like UK, for example, or France, and granted that would be Gateway Plus as well. But you're thinking, right, well, I want to introduce more mechanics, so let's do Ticket to Ride with pick up and deliver. That's pretty much what Spike is, and for me, I really like this game. I mean, it's not often I say positive things about a pick up and deliver or train game particularly, but Spike is one that I gotta give props to. Streamlined rules, easy to teach, easy to play. Could do with a bit of a cosmetic upgrade, I admit. It would be nice to see a slightly more revised version of this done with just better components, but for the most part, still really like this one. Spike, number 4. My number 3 is the most recent one I've had to come across. So yes, I finally got myself a copy of this worker placement game, and yep, this is definitely my key worker placement category contender. And believe me, there was a lot. There was a lot to pick through. And I had to debate, is that next step? Is that gateway? I don't know. Games like Stone Age I consider to be gateway level. I did consider Lords of Waterdeep for this list, but it's so on the cusp. Is it gateway? Is it gateway plus? I don't know. And I just went back and forth, and I thought, well, the main way I like to play it is with the expansion, and at that point it's no longer a gateway game. But even without the expansion, I'm like, the buildings, the different quest bonuses, the intrigue cards, does that put it above gateway? I don't know. I've seen it work gateway level. Maybe the theme is the problem. It's hard to say. So rather than get too contested about that, I sort of decided, no, you know what? I'll call it the upper level of gateway level, but I'll leave it at gateway. And I thought, okay, so what other worker placement can I think of? And again, there was a lot of choices. But I've gone with my most recent acquisition, Raiders of the North Sea. And I decided against Architects of the West Kingdom because the whole good morale and bad morale thing is definitely above gateway level players, like Train of Thought. But this Raiders, if you bear in mind, I'm going base game only here. I've got both expansions in here with a playmat, and I put the whole lot out because it is definitely the best way to play the game. But base game on its own, it's not that difficult at all. You basically have a few actions, and the notation looks similar to what Stone Age does. So if you taught them Stone Age previously, and to be fair, Stone Age is gateway. I mean, you roll dice for resources, you've got a few things, and most of it is just collect these cards or pay this in for a building. Well, some of that is repeated in here with the case of paying resources to get a point tile. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You are Vikings, you're going off and pillaging. Right, well, people get that already. You have your village at the start, you only put one meeple out and you take one back. Pretty simple mechanism. You do two things every round, put one down, take one back. Nice and easy. Different colors allow you to do different, more powerful actions. But you're trying to raid different places and all of them work in the same way. You basically have to count up your attack strength, see if you meet the threshold, get the victory points, take all the plunder, and then deal with Valkyries if they turn up. But other than that, it's mainly resource gathering by plundering, but you also have to gather your provisions, and you have to get your crew, and the crew have special abilities, which are not the most complicated in the world. Some are just VP, some just say when killed, give you this, or when you go to this action, get this bonus, or +2 strength, whatever. It's not a difficult game in its base set form. I would not throw in any expansion for a Gateway Plus level, but this is definitely the upper level of Gateway Plus, I think, as well. But I struggled to think of a lot of Gateway Plus worker placement games because a lot of the times they do sort of jump from Gateway straight to like medium weight quite quickly. This is one that I thought, yeah, you know what? This works, it's fun, it's colourful, it will appeal to a lot of people with the theme or even just the look of it. It does look beautiful on the table. Both expansions with a little bit of putting stuff into spares fit in this box, so it's not a big box to cart around. But yeah, base set, there's not a huge amount of spaces on that board. What about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe or something on the starting front? Can't quite see because of the picture, but I've got the playmat that introduces both expansions, and there's a lot more spaces. Base set though, I feel that if you've got them into the worker placement game and they understand, right, put the worker out, do the action, right, fine. Now what else can I do with this concept? Change up the worker placement style a tad by doing only one worker and take a worker back. But then that will lead you into games like maybe the Manhattan Project line or, the Architects of the West Kingdom or expanded one of this, for example. And of course, we got Paladins of the West Kingdom coming out. Please be good, please be good, please be good. We already had like amazing game and then 2 games. And then we have Architects, amazing game. And I really want the next 2 afterwards to be pretty good. So come on, Garphill Games, put your A game in this one. So yeah, Raiders of the North Sea. Definitely, I think Gateway Plus, maybe upper level of Gateway Plus, but I wouldn't teach this to a brand new player, and I wouldn't really put it as high enough to call it medium weight either until you start throwing the expansions in. So yeah, new acquisition, finally in the collection, here to stay, Raiders of the North Sea. For my number 2, we have one of the biggest hidden gems I have found recently, and I found it at the Games Expo. I've recently done a review on it, and it comes so close to me saying bye-bye Carcassonne, because if you want a replacement for Carcassonne, this is a good contender for it. Now, I did consider Isle of Skye before, and Isle of Skye is still in my collection with the Druids expansion, not that horrible first one, but the second expansion, it's elevated it to a good level again. But it was starting to get a little bit stale at first. But you got the bidding aspect and the building the tiles is not quite as intuitive because you don't need roads to connect with each other. It's a little bit above Gateway Plus, I feel, or I just thought, is there a better example that I could think of? This one, however, oh yes. Small Islands, recent acquisition. I don't know, I hope Mushroom Games, if you're watching, can you let us know if it's going to be sold in the States? Because I've had people ask me if this is going to be sold in the States. Maybe at Gen Con you're going to be there, I don't know, but I would like more distributors to get hold of this and get it out into the public eye. This is a fantastic tile laying game, and it just works in that Carcassonne manner of like, here's the communal map, put a tile down, build it so that the islands and the water make sense. Again, it's intuitive. But added to what Carcassonne would normally do, which is just, oh, here's like 3 or 4 ways to put a Meeple down and score. With this one, you're like, right, I have to chop and change my objectives every round, and I need different requirements on the islands. I can only score an island once. Do I want the island to get bigger so it gets me more of the symbols, or a bigger island, or am I happy with a lot of little islands all at once that will still get me a lot of points? How do I block other people? You know, do I save this objective for next round, or do I go for it now? And if you throw in advanced mode, where the objective cards kind of, normally they're on one card and it's pre-printed, but if you throw in an advanced variant, which I think you should use every single time, you get to mix and match. You know, you've got the objectives and the rewards, and you can go, well, this would combo with this one well, but I don't know, maybe the board state is meaning that I should go for the harbour symbols more, in which case, why don't I just score for the harbours rather than for lotus flowers? It's weird. You've got a little bit extra to think about, and you have to pay attention to what the other players are doing, because you can actually get points by letting the other players do the work for you. I had a game where I had an objective which required me to get like a really big island, and you know, it would score me points for having more tiles in the island. So great, I want a huge island. Well, I noticed one or two players were trying to build up one island themselves because they wanted all the symbols. So it's like, all right, fine. You go do the work for me there. I'll go work on this little island over here. You don't think I want anything with that big island, but haha, joke's on you. You know, there's stuff like that that you can pull off in this. But it is a wonderful, like, Gateway Plus level, you know, tile laying game that I must admit, it's like, this old Carcassonne. Carcassone's still in my collection, and I'm probably going to keep both, but it's a good little hidden gem. I never even heard of it. I just tried it at the expo, and to be fair, publishers, take note. Why did I try it at the expo? Because it was on the table, the rulebook looked nice and simple and streamlined, and it looks colourful. Look at the cover. This is something that just stands out on a shelf. It has shelf presence. It doesn't need to be this grandiose big box that, you know, has too much air in it, although this has too much air in it as well. So are you going to be doing expansions to this game, please? But, you know, at that point, then you can fill up the rest of the space with an expansion. But if this is it, if this is not going to be expanded, then I'm like, too much air. But, you know, it's colourful. It popped, and it instantly just said to me, Luke, play me. A bit like, you know, okay, that's maybe creepy. But I played it. Love it. You know, it was an 8 out of 10, I think I gave it. Like I say, I'm not saying it's like the best game ever, but when I think of, right, I need a not too simple tile laying game that's easy to just pick up and play. Love it. Small Islands, my number 2. And finally, yeah, I think some of you probably might have seen this coming or expected it to be on the list. Although some of you out there might be thinking, oh, come on, I've taught this to gateway level players. I'm sorry, I can't agree with this being a gateway level game. Sorry, Sam Healy. Sorry, other people. I get what you're saying, but there's easier drafting games, okay? I mean, we've just had one recently that's technically a little bit simpler, although I did consider Villagers, but I don't know. It's still pretty simple. I feel I could teach that as a gateway level game, although I had to think, do I want Villagers or do I want something else? And for the reason I picked this particular drafting game is because it has expansions. So once you want to take it to the next level, you can expand it and expand it and expand it. Villagers, you're kind of stuck with what you have. Those mini expansions aren't really worth mentioning. So didn't want to really give it to that one. But once I'm done with Sushi Go, of course, I want to teach someone a good drafting game. Seven Wonders. And yet, some of you have used it as a gateway level game. Fine. But for me, Seven Wonders, it's just... Oh, that light's gone out. Oh, well, never mind. But yeah, I love this one. This is such a good drafting game. And with the expansions, it's even better. But base set alone, you've got a lot of iconography to teach people. And, you know, they got to decide, well, how many brown cards do I need? And how do I pay attention to my two neighbours? And I've got to stop someone getting all the green cards and things like that. There's a lot of that stuff that's going through their head and they just can't really fathom it on top of everything. So I feel that it's a lot better to save this for the next step up. That's why Sushi Go, where's that Sushi Go party down there, is my easel, like, oh yeah, that is my first thing that I'm going to teach people. But once I'm done with that and you want to learn a bit more of an intense drafting scenario, Seven Wonders without a shadow of a doubt. I love this game. This has been a top 10 game before for me. It's probably still in my top 20. At least top 30 for this year's top 100. We'll see. I'm still in the ranking process at the moment. But yeah, such a good drafting game. And of course, you can just expand it with all the expansions you want. I've got Armada down there. And to be fair, I hate the fact that I've got to store it in a separate box. Very tempted to go on Etsy and buy Laserox. I think they've just done an insert, the Wondrous insert, where you can now keep everything in one 7 Wonders box, as long as you don't mind the lid being slightly offset. I do hate it when that happens, but I must admit, I'd rather have that than 2 separate boxes, because it's not like I have a lot of room left to buy more games. So yeah, number 1, 7 Wonders. Honourable mentions, there was a lot, and yeah, it's a bit annoying that light's gone out, but you're just going to have to bear with me. At least you can still see me, okay? But, there was a lot on here. I mean, Realm of Sand, Dream Home, Lords of Waterdeep, Firenze, Airlines Europe, Abyss, Smash Up, Mystic Vale, Dice City, Broom Service. I won't mention that one because that's the Patreon choice. Yeah, there was Isle of Skye. There was a lot of games that I could consider. I had to debate whether they were Gateway or Gateway Plus, or whether they were just a bit above Gateway Plus, and it was hard to make that delineation, but I'm sure a lot of you would probably have listened to half of that list and gone, oh yeah, that's a good choice, that's a good choice, oh wait, I've got a few more choices. By all means, stick them in the comments, let's have a read. I'm sure there's some brilliant choices you can think of out there, but this is not a video to go, oh yeah, you're talking rubbish, there's no way that's Gateway or Gateway Plus. This isn't a debate about, oh yeah, these people just clearly don't get games, whereas my group can handle the most heaviest games ever. This is not what this is about, but I'm trying to think, what do you consider a Gateway Plus game? Forget about why you consider it Gateway Plus, just give us a list. What sort of games are you thinking of? Because I'm hoping that this list will be quite a useful one for people to sort of go, well, I've got a few in my collection, but now, what do I buy next? What do I buy next as we're starting out? Here's 10 games to think of, and hopefully the comments will come up with another 100 plus. As for the Patreon choice, though, this one, I considered it, but there's a problem I have with this, and the Patreon choice is Viticulture Essential. I considered this, but I feel that Viticulture, for a start, has a little bit too much going on to be Gateway Plus level. I still call medium weight on, Viticulture, and I know some people call it light. I still call it medium weight, even with the Essentials version. But there's another thing with it. Viticulture, when I first played it, I thought, oh yeah, this is a really cool game. It was like top 50, and it probably would have gone down and down had Tuscany not been released for it. And of course, if I'm going to play Viticulture, I'm playing it with almost everything in it. Not like the extra boards and that, I don't care. But I'm playing it with the Mamas and Papas, the advanced cards, the expansion little boxes, those are the cards I use, the structures, the board, the different boards where you choose what time you wake up and stuff, with the star symbol map. I'm using a lot of those Tuscany things to make Viticulture one of my favourite games ever. And that is the way I want to teach people it, because I come across people on Facebook all the time where they play the basic version or just the Viticulture Essentials and they go, this is that great, I really don't get it, or I hate it. And it's just like, no, play it with those extras. It really changes the game for the better. But then once I put those in, it is by no means a Gateway Plus level game. It is definitely medium weight when you shove in all the Tuscany stuff. So on that basis, I figured you could maybe make the argument that the Viticulture Basic is Gateway Plus, but again, I still think it's a bit too much going on for it. The timing, how long is it going to take me to get my wine? When does the engine suddenly kick off? Because it's more of a crescendo thing. It's like slow, and it accelerates quite quickly once you get your engine in gear. I just feel too much for a Gateway Plus level gamer to handle, but it was an interesting Patreon choice, and I wanted to give it a talk about in this video. So, phew. Like I say, minus the light, all pretty good. Hopefully this format is something that you'll like for top 10s. It allows me to pick up the game and show it off with a few components and that. But it allows me to just sort of get passionate about the games. Yes, okay, Mr. Fantastic, it is kind of an odd thing with it, but hopefully this is something that you will like. The wide-angle version for top 10s and vlogs, and the 24mm version for the actual reviews and anthologies. That way, I'm covering both bases, I get to try a bit of everything, I get to use all my kit, and hopefully you viewers out there get to, you get to enjoy the look that you like, as well as dealing with the look you don't. I can't please everybody, unfortunately, but I feel that this is a pretty good compromise. So, with that being said, looks like I need to charge up the batteries, so this will be the last video I do today. So without further ado, time to sign off. Take care, and remember, Doesn't matter if it's your next step game, gateway level, light, medium, heavy, whatever your argument is for whether a game qualifies as whatever particular ranking, at the end of the day, it's all subjective in our own minds anyway. It's not like there's a gospel guide for this. And once we've all done debating the subject, it's still only a game. So take care. See you next time.